Welcome to our lovely future humans, to the 5D collective of mystics, spiritual, mindful, living, loving self-agents who have a body in connection. Your ventral vagal state is very important, otherwise you won't be mastering love and fear, and you won't even know about the great split already having happened. And so since our Lionsgate portal, I already knew that yes, the 3D, 4D would be sticking around. I actually knew this last year and pretty much the year prior. And what I get to also let you know, in addition to being a mystic, mindful mindset mentor, content creator, podcast host, I'm in the Enlightenment Soul Age group. I'm in communion with God, and I have been around for eons. And besides all that, I'm grounded in reality. So thanks, Sam Harris. All my cherishable beliefs can be falsifiable, but above all, I don't have anything except for one thing to say right now. Health, like Sadhguru shares, is your responsibility. It is about revitalizing your body in connection, check. Mind, integrated brain, and that means I own my sense of self, check. Emotions, yep, I'm master of fear, thanks panic attacks. Love, I'm always on because I'm anchoring in my ventral energy. And life energies, check. My 3-year-old, 1-year-old, my child parts are here to a higher level of functioning. Thank you, Sadhguru. So I did take his inner engineering. It's really awesome, and a bunch more. But above all, what I have is Maria's self-led. So you get to hear some stories and perspectives. Also, I'm attachment trauma informed. So for me, the Lionsgate portal, it's been many, many portals that I've been ascending and expanding on. So when you're a 5D, what I call body type, it's because you have consistently maintained your self-led as a person who owns a sense of self. This means if you look away and don't see me, you will not erode my confidence, because I can cry because of bonding. I can also get angry because of the biological root aspect that I'm going to have to deal with, but then I'm also going to be able to be afraid. And even though that's not going to be anything for me, because I have a twin, so I don't have a fear of the bear eating me, because my implicit memory, I'm always accompanied. Okay, so when you learn how basic it is for us to be humans with the embodied brain, you understand it's not complex. No, the multiverse and dimensional, so that's amazing. So my entire oversoul, embodying, light body, and then rainbow body. Okay, so I've been through all of that, and 2 Kundalini awakenings. You don't lose anyone on your oversoul journey. I've gained more people. In fact, twin flames, all of the stuff that you will have heard from Tragedy Land, Dark Night of Soul, Ego Death, those are people who have a body that is not the 5D body type that I'm talking to you about from my subjective spiritual mystic experience. Okay, so with communion with God, for me, it was with my Christian Catholic upbringing, Jesus, Holy Spirit, and then I got spiritual experience, and that was with the Twin Flame 1 that came into the picture. And from that moment forth, everything got amazing. 3 types of dreams, those were astral travel, multi-dimension, Maria, all of it. Okay, so with that being said, this great split that the 4D is making a big deal about, and they're making it sound like it's the end of eons and stuff like that. We're going to leave it alone, because the stories for the 4D are going to keep getting amazing. And I'm going to integrate, as I always do, human, spiritual, and spirituality elements. Now, if you're a paid subscriber, you will know we have our 5-minute and 15-minute communication skills for anger. We're going to have more at some point, but in the meantime, what you're going to get to see or hear first are going to be, we have on the list 2 things that are going to be extended. One, we did it already on how to distinguish with the whole cult and guru thing. So gurus are not cult leaders, and anybody who's falling for anything cult-like needs a therapist. And that is as straightforward as it gets. And I have seen 4D not listen to any of that, which is good, not only suggestions from a mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, but also from good therapists that we learn from. So when you meet adaptive child part people, they don't have mastery over love because they don't have sense of self and they don't own it. And like Patrick Tiahan will point out, that will mean that if you make a compliment, they will feel ashamed, defensive, if they're not healing. If they're healing, then they'll know, oh, look, I'm feeling ashamed that they complimented me because I'm still healing my childhood trauma stuff. If they have what Dr. Daniel Fox will have presented, which is fear of abandonment and BPD, or black and white thinking, not BPD, but fear of abandonment with that. So he calls it family in the head. They will treat a kind person as more untrustworthy, and then they will keep testing them. And then they will also perceive neutrality as a bad thing. So they don't like neutral, which is why when you hear 4D telling you we're not meant to be light and love, we're light and lightning. What you mean is you want to keep using your sympathetic. And that's basically where modulate embodiment, yes, people think the sympathetic is the way to be angry, and that's not actually the only way. But if they don't move into their ventral energy ever, they won't know how it is to be a master of anger. However, I have a lucky side note for Maria. I got to tell my mom at 3, you can't make me my body. So self-agency from a 3-year-old to a 45-year-old. I mean, of course, it got easy for me to continue to become more of sovereign anger Maria. Okay, so with love, it's easy. With fear, the panic attacks are still annoying, but the window of tolerance expanded to window welcome. So energy body, the light body, light body, light body, then you move into your rainbow body. So after 2 Kundalini awakenings, okay, so that's where the spiritual experiences, they began and then they don't stop. And it's amazing to have contact with galactic beings, to know about the different splits. Yes, okay, so let me let you know. We won't be talking about it here. That's why we'll have extendeds on this topic potentially. But for now, the number 1 will be on sharing with you Guru and the cult thing, because I want to go in depth on that one. And then we're going to add to our communication skills for anger. And this is for our paid content. For free, you get the 3 minutes for the communication skills and then a bunch more of chit chatter, as you know. And lives, we will be having some free lives. Then once we have tiers, and on TikTok, we'll have also our lovely, once I get to the 1,000, that can open up subscription, we'll have some plans for that. And so that's that. The mastery of love and the mastery of fear come together, because it's only when your body is finally yours in the ventral energy. Okay, so I know only how to tell you how easy it was to be self-led and to stay a self-agent, and how even if I was unseen, that I didn't have this thing of, oh my God, they're not looking at me. Okay, so when I opened up to Claire's, I didn't lose faith. God stays at my side. He's discerning equanimous love, as you'll hear my story, at least a short version of it, in the 14 pages of the chapter. God is discerning equanimous love. In the book I'm a co-author of, The Ways to God. And as Jesus continues to stay next to me, Buddha makes fun of me because I make fun of the tree thing, but we got our thing going on, so it's cool. And there's a whole bunch of other councils and whatnot. Okay, so as Sadhguru points out, health is your responsibility. Thank you, Sadhguru. It is about revitalizing your body, mind, emotions, and life energies to a higher level of functioning. So step 1 is that you have a self that leads. You own the sense of self. With the integrated brain, the body's connected, the default mode network is downregulated. So that's why we are a clear channel in the way of our embodied brain doesn't distort that which is a download, that which is the information that comes in. We're also grounded in reality, knowing that everyone has different beliefs, okay? And so with that being said, remember, it's food for thought, and to remember that this is not advice. I'm not doing the advice stuff. That's when we're doing mentorship, but that's for personal growth, spiritual growth. So I know a lot of people get very concerned with what they're talking about. I do my best to have those disclaimers, and then I do my best to share it with you all openly as well. I actually thought that it was kind of ridiculous that people don't know that expert advice is from the experts, you know what I mean? But then again, some don't want to go to school anymore, and they don't want the experts. They think that they are not needed. And I'm just like, okay, wow. You know, you're always gonna learn stuff, otherwise you won't advance in tomorrow, like, you know. So remember though that the empowered feminine element and the empowered masculine element are those who are in our mastery of love and fear. Okay, so what fear and love energy and frequency create together won't manifest in its highest potential unless we have a person who's manifesting in their higher potential. You manifest your higher potential when you know how to, again, use your left, the chit chatter, and the right with the inner growth mindset. You're going to expand because you're pursuing personal and or spiritual growth. The body is connected and not in protection. And so you don't talk shit to yourself or shit to others, and you don't actually hold or store shame or contempt or self-righteousness. So the 3D and 4D collective, they will be people that we will be able to interact and mingle with because we flow with love. So we are emotionally aware, and therefore we're mentally aware that we live a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. So we don't have a right to get angry in someone's face, but we will have anger. We don't have a right to, throw shit at you because so people who allow themselves to stay reactive, they will allow themselves to justify mediocre and ignorant behavior, and they also justify with conspiracies. And so when you have anyone doing any of that support, they're not embodying their divinity. They will use words. They will say positive is fake. This is emotional mature. It's not fake. You obviously don't know how to embody the body in connection yet, but that's where the emotionally mature sovereign person isn't going to go around pointing a finger at an adaptive child part person who's biologically rude because they can't hear us. They've already distorted it. Okay, so you'll notice when things get heated in a room, I have plenty of discussions, and my lovely family, they're all trauma informed. I get to bring it to them too. That's exactly why. And so every now and then we're getting all up in our feels. Okay, what's the trauma about? So we have fun. We're not insulting each other, and we actually know how to bring in the dance of that which is argumentation with a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So kind of like Manny, Diego, and Sid. Okay, so when you have healthy environment, it means that we are still working with everything together, but some of us are not suffering it. Okay, the ones who suffer getting upset, the ones who want everyone to have the same type of energy with that emotion, it's not the same. Oh, remember, there's different soul age groups. I forgot to mention that. So as an enlightenment soul age group, that's why I also know that every step of the way people will be brought forth to have the potential to enlighten. You don't have to. That's why the mindfulness practices, the paid subscribers, are the ones who are wanting more communication skills with their emotions because they want that depth of health. So again, health is their responsibility. They've taken it upon themselves to emotionally, mentally, physically, and with their entire life bring forth the restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating lifestyle. With clairs, it doesn't get confusing. Just because you're a downloader and a channeler and a medium and all of the things I can tell you all about Akashic record readings doesn't make it confusing. The frequency of fear, we will embody that too as enlightened ones, spiritual masters, gurus, because we embody pure vulnerability, because we embody the awareness. I bring the human spirituality elements together and sciences. So I'm bringing that self, the whole self. Others will bring to you something different. Plus those other soul age groups, they learn about the self in different ways. I read to you the soul age groups in one of our lives. Okay, so they won't be here. They'll be doing some other stuff for this rest of their lifetime. But life will continue to give you the opportunity, meaning also God, or if you prefer using the word source, or if you're science, dark matter, dark energy. So life gives you opportunity. You can even use the word luck to be able to master the love and fear, to be able to master yourself. You don't master yourself if you don't own your sense of self with love. You have to own your sense of self and that suffering stuff for those who have had it, to welcome it with compassion, because physiologically, when you're in the state of compassion, your prefrontal cortex comes on. That's because your insula lights up. My brain and my body are connected. I have interoception. Not afraid of stuff, or stuff comes up, I know how to handle it, like with my panic attacks. Then my amygdala is alerted, and then my temporal junction, which will relate to the situations that I am experiencing with the past, and then my prefrontal. So I'm attachment trauma informed, and so that's where physiologically, when you're in a state of compassion, that's why you're going to be intimate, kind, and you're going to personally grow and to spiritually grow, for those of you who are also within our spiritual mystic community. Frequency of love we embody because we're in our ventral energy. Okay, so this Lionsgate portal brought more of expansion to your light body, rainbow body, depending on where you're at as a mystic and spiritual one, and that means more ease. You do understand the different timelines, and again, it's not good or bad. There's different soul age groups, and there's also different bodies, and those bodies have owners, and those owners have thoughts, and their thoughts give them stories. And so the stories of those who are ignorant, mediocre, and conspiracy theorists, they will continue to navigate that which I call Peter Pan land, or the Jungle Boy's monkey, I want to walk like you, talk like you, or just they're using all of yesterday's books to continue to live that which are stories that were used to provide the embodied brain of a human being who has secondary consciousness a reason for why things happen. And when you know what an adaptive child part person is, it's half a brained person who doesn't like to be in the maximum uncertainty. When you meet a securely attached, instead non-traumatized person, you'll know it's, Maria is meaningful, meaningless. This is the expert yogi that Sadhguru talks about in his spiritual words, I bring to you the human elements. It's Maria's human secondary consciousness is aware that I live and that I can die and that I might mean nothing except for I'm a person and I can sit with it and not suffer it. Now, this is the part of why our personality patterns matter and that attachment matters. And that's where I know all about Maria. Thank you, Dr. Daniel Siegel, with the PDP framework. And the part about how it's between fear, certainty, sadness, bonding, and anger, self-agency. Okay, so when you're a person who's master of you, you are able to consistently expand in this way of love while also holding fear. And also understanding that for humanity, we can make a difference. And so, of course, we're going to continue to engage in supporting the expansion, but we might not make a complete difference. And that we are not needing to be worried. The worried part, so here's where with God, for me, I have faith. And so I'm consistently in communion, chit-chatting. I had already said, by the time I was 19, I don't see any Lucifer, Satan, monsters. Nope, just people who are cowards. And now that I'm a grown up with attachment trauma education, I continue to know that that is exactly what you meet when you meet the 1 to 22, I think, Michael Stone, forensic criminologist scale. Where is it? I have it somewhere. But on that note, I also understand when people with human secondary consciousness and different types of motivations come together like the flat earthers, and then they continue to experience life in the way that they will. And this is the part of why, while 5D Collective will come together by sharing enlightening stories, by continuing to expand our light bodies, rainbow bodies, and continuing to move into the future, 4D, 3D will have a very different outlook. And we won't be talking about that one because I'm here with the 5D Collective, not for the 4D or 3D. But I wanted to share food for thought on this great split that I saw, the entirety of people beginning to just inundate with the topic because it's our Lionsgate, plus we have our 8-8 portal. And so, we'll be continuing to talk about the full moon on the 9th of August. With that being said, let me see what else do I want to talk about when it comes to love and fear. Mastering it is fun because obviously you get to be a little bit less afraid. And that's fear, pure fear, not the dying thing. I mean, I already got told by God I'll be physically safe. But even here, I'm grounded in reality to the point of going, well, that is my hope. But I'm going to make the best of every 24 hours. Okay, so when you meet empowered feminines, you're going to meet those who are loving their bodies and they're loving their minds. And that's because empowered feminine is both woman or man, or they who take seriously their health. So emotional, mental, physical. And that's because you own, again, the sense of self. As you own the sense of self, you're not shamed or blamed or faulted or revenged. You don't have envy, jealousy, spite. You don't have any low frequency stuff. If you have things that do come up like those, you work with those with the inner growth mindset communication skills. So it's not about shaming anything that comes up for you. You are going to be aware because you're doing personal growth and spiritual growth. That's the difference between the 5D Collective versus the 3D, 4D. Okay, I'm going to use Maria's words. This is not something you have to write down, but the 5D Collective will pursue their higher potential as they are embodying the frequency of love and wanting. So every time ascension energies come about, instead of being afraid, they are going to welcome the fear, welcome it. Why? Because they have love in the body. And they don't allow the vulnerability to stay within the shame, blame, fault, revenge. So all of that, which is shame, has cowards. That's exactly why it's not something that I look at and say, wow, I just met a monster. When you meet shame and you meet any of those who are emotionally immature, it's going to look very unpleasant. I met him as a teenager. And here's the story of To be saluted. This is a person who's a perfect example of what it means when people are weak, because they don't own their sense of self, because they didn't go to get a good therapist so that they could become strong. What's strong? Strong means that you can stand with integrity and love and fear and be a human who's decent and know, at the very bare minimum, healthy boundaries, which is what this human being didn't know. And in my 45 years of life, I have one thing to say. I met in our lives, one of them, a human being who expressed exactly what I did in the exact way that I did it. And it's called empathic boundaries, because it's not only healthy boundaries. It's I had empathy for another human being. And then sovereignty, which is a word I don't use often, but I know what they meant. And so yes, a self-agent, a future human, we're here. It's called healthy self-worth, empowered, enlightening, and empathic people. But do you know what everyone else besides this human being who I don't even know who they are said? You want to hear? Are you ready? Some of you already know the stories, so you're gonna already remember. With the women, it's you could get in their face, no, or you could let them get away with it, no again. Those are both not healthy boundaries, nor is it a person who has yet the capacity to say, I'm Maria, which is what instead I always have the capacity to say. So I won't bow down in shame, and I won't stand down in insecurity. That's what a self-agent knows, and that's why it can be completely seen as, you think you're perfect. No, I don't. I just have confidence. So if someone doesn't look at Maria, I don't take it and be offense. No, I have a human being. I told you that story where I could tell they would scooch away from me. This happened 3 times. I was just getting to know them. And I said, maybe I'm just imagining it. I didn't be upset. A little bit of me was sad because I like them. And then we're now friends, just so you know. But there was a reason for the scooching away. And the reason was they didn't know how to tell me I'm not a touchy person, and I love hugging. When I found out, I said, I'm so sorry. Here's what we'll do. You can tell me when I can hug you, and then I will. And if not, I will just say hi from afar. And then eventually we became so close to where they seek hugs with me now. But it was because they didn't know how to tell me that they felt uncomfortable, and I didn't notice, because I'm not going to, as a grown woman, think that I need to read your mind. Emotionally immature people don't know how to speak with that which is a ventral vagal tone. Those who instead do, it's because they know who they are, and with empathy they'll say, wow, I can tell you're a really huggy person, love that, but I'm not. Depends how much open-mindedness and welcoming they have. And so I can tell you that for me, it's not a problem when I've been told I'm not a hugger. And I will say I'm a hugger, though, so am I allowed every now and then? As we become friends, of course. If we don't, then that's something different. I will be able to respect it without being like, I'm so offended. Can I tell you what I prefer? Yeah, of course. I'm from, part of me is Naples, Italy. I like to be all and up in people's faces and all of that. I do not do formalities whatsoever. And so when I am, I'm like, oh, man. I have to do formalities now. Okay, I'll stand and sit proper. Is that okay? Is that better? I don't like it at all, but I get it. So, that's the part. So anyways, that was one story of how I didn't take it personally. I just thought maybe they don't like me. Who knows? It happens. Like, really. This man is 50 or however old. He has a wife, and he's not decent enough to be saluted, is what he did in an evening where he was upset because of getting rejected by someone else who he had not been very nice to. No, again, unhealthy boundary people. But that's where they got a green pass. They got, but they're so nice, but they're so cultured, but they're so good. Society comes together to support each other to be emotionally, mentally, and physically mature when we have the 5D collective. The other ones will be, you could get in his face, no. Oh, good, no. The men said, did you say it right? I gave him the cold shoulder. Fucking bitch, I did. That way I didn't have to worry about it. That better, because that's what you told me, that I have it only this way. I can't be affectionate, because if I'm affectionate, I need to accept that you might be misconfusing my affection, which I actually have accepted. So as a woman, I have accepted that men, I have to give them a certain amount of time so they can become so familiar with me to know I don't want to sleep with you just because I will be nice. And women are like, oh, but you don't have to get in their face. Again, that's not going to teach them manners at all. No, teaching manners is that a person will care to stop generalizing stereotypes. You know, here's another funny story. One of my boyfriends, the only reason he became my boyfriend was because his friends told him that I liked him after I fed him French fries. And when he told me this, I laughed in his face. I said, I had no interest in you whatsoever. Like, not even a little bit. I just gave you the French fries because, you know. And you might ask, so why'd you date him? Because he's a nice man and we were friends. And I said, why not? Let's date. And then from dating, I said, we're not a couple, but we were dating pretty much. We see each other weekly. We're a couple. This is not dating anymore. So it became more of, and then 4 years down the line, he broke up with me. And today we're family friends. And I get to have a best friend, BFFF of all times and beyond. She's my soul sister. And her and I always smile when people are like, but that's weird. And we're thinking, you're weird. Like, what the heck? Why would we not be able to be friends? And family, actually, not just friends. So this is that part of where, when he told me, like I said, I just laughed. I'm like, wow, that's just hilarious. Men, no, not just men. Women, I've seen women do the same. They're looking at me. I think they might be looking over you. No, I can tell they were looking straight at me. Yeah, you don't really know if they were looking straight at you. How dare you? I'm just saying, I can't tell if they're looking at you. So the assumptions, people who make assumptions based on nothing more than bullshit, there's plenty of them. 4D is going to continue doing it. So is 3D. 5D is going to not, but we won't also be upset. So yes, I've gotten to accept that the men, they inform me what I have to do in order to try and not give mixed messages. So if I want to become your friend and I put up with having to figure out what the best way is to make you understand I'm an affectionate woman that wants to just be friends and I have no other interest in you. And if I don't want to be your friend, then I'll just do what I did like with this human being, and then I get to be the bitch. And there you go. And that's the part of where, does it have to be? No. But again, when you hear what people will come up with, it's just hilarious, which is why I'm not surprised that we will still have our 3D, 4D community because of those different soul age groups. So the story ends where the next time I saw the person, they were near a friend of mine, because they were so upset. I'm going to do enough to be saluted. I said, at least I need to, no, I didn't say, it was instinctive. I looked at them, I acknowledged them like that. And they said, at least you looked at me. And then I looked away and said hello to my friend. In Italy, they say hello like this. And I did not say hello to him because I consistently made him aware that I wasn't interested in becoming friends. That is a person who basically has shame, blame, fault, revenge, stuff going on that's insecurity, and they didn't tend to it. And they think they taught me common courtesy. And so what love and fear can manifest together will only be manifested in its highest potential when it's from a person who is their higher potential, and we all have fear. As long as I'm physically safe, I don't need to treat somebody like a little piece of shit, no matter what biologically rude, emotionally immature words, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Self-righteous contempt, people who take over a floor. I love to talk a lot. I'm just as culpable of taking over a floor, for example. So this is that part of where self-acceptance and understanding that we all have quirks, that we all have flaws, that we all have imperfections, and then being able to know that the ones who are actually with fear in a way of being mobilized, they didn't have a good start, which is exactly why when I think of the split and I think of health, health is your responsibility. It is about revitalizing your body, mind, emotions, and life energies to a higher level of functioning. Thank you, Sadhguru. And then I think of the split. And then I think of Peter Levine, who shared with me what a bird with a broken wing, which is a person with shame, does when they get told, I will love you and I can help you. And this is not funny. You, humanly speaking, will not think of any monster of any story when you have the explanation of what happened to that poor person in the womb, and the 1-year-old and the 2-year-old and the 3-year-old. And that is exactly why I get the honor to bring the human elements to the spiritual and spirituality elements, and the future human, which is compassionate and loving and sovereign, and understanding that if someone has fear for love, it's because they didn't get to have love. And everyone deserves to be loved. As I told teenage girls who got really vicious and mean after breakups, and I'd be like, wow, I thought you said you loved them. You need to stop. because you're really making me uncomfortable. I promised Jesus, God, and Holy Spirit that I would love, and you are now sounding really upset, and I think you're just upset because they broke up with you. And these people, they would say, why are you so mean? Why are you taking their side? I'm not taking a side. I'm saying you're being very mean. Everyone deserves love. And just because they broke up with you doesn't mean that they don't deserve it. And just because they broke up with you, yeah, sure, a lot of people are stupid. Masculines are all stupid. Oh, not men, masculines. You want to understand, as a feminine, I'm an empowered feminine. I have also my own masculine feminine. So I closed out in this lifetime with Maria's mystic soul stuff. My masculine's karma. My feminine, she's balanced. Okay, so every soul knows their journey, if you're curious. Or if you need guidance, that's what the mentorship for spiritual growth is eventually. As an Akashic record reader, spiritual mystic with the clairs of tarot. I'm getting lost with my words. Reiki. I integrate Akashic record readings. Depends on what we want to do, but there's a number of things that a person can know about their self. And I actually love learning from smart other 5D collective mystics who have presented how our higher self works, and how when all of your different dimensional selves are coming together, what takes place. So I know all about it because, again, all of my different dimensions came together, a bunch of stories that you haven't heard yet. But here's where masculines, this rabbi shared with me, the masculine element has near infinite potential of life, but nothing comes of it until it's captured, contained, given limitations, and nurtured. While the feminine element is only one, and the feminine element is that which limits and defines. Okay, so here's where this rabbi compared men and women, saying men have a hard time to commit and women nurture all, and that it's painful to start something new. So he was trying not to be gender focused, but he did get gender focused. So you can remove the gender part, but just so that we can continue talking about feminine, masculine. When you have an empowered feminine, they will know that they support the masculine to become connected to their own feminine, so to source God, okay? But that is through free will, not through coercion, not through stories, not through let me insult you because you're not choosing. Okay, so it's a very in-depth conversation we could have. But in the meantime, the masculine has, at least in the Torah, this rabbi said, 39 ways for the masculine to express itself. And instead of the feminine, it's only one element, okay? That's like when you hear intelligent, spiritual, enlightened ones telling you, intelligence, Akash source, God always wins. The truth is always one. And from the spiritual perspective, it's the frequency I'm going to share for all of it is love, but love is not, I give you a pass. It is the pure essence of the oxytocin gene hormone. I'll just bring in the body stuff so you can conceptualize it. And equanimity, that calm centeredness, the discernment, the wise good judgment. So a healthy self-worth, empowered, sovereign human being with the information of attachment trauma or not doesn't matter. When you're an empowered feminine of your own, you will have this lovely, at the very bare minimum, functional adult attitude. Thank you, Terry Real, which means you understand people have trauma. Okay, very bare minimum. And you don't make up stories for the ones who are in Michael Stone's forensic criminologist evil skill. We also know that the galactic forces and the galactic beings and cosmic karmic balance is always here. So no person needs to play God. No person in flesh is needed to maintain the balance of that which is consciousness, okay? And so again, I'm giving you the 5D collective will be aware of the fact that all things keep moving forward as they always have been. Just now it's with Dharma and not karma. That we have new stories, that we have a spirituality community of a bunch of us blending everything, that the ones who don't want it, it's because they think we're going to let some evil shit through. So they keep, the divisive ones keep the evil and good, bad and good in the way of ancient stories, okay? And then let's again remember that the left mode of all people's brains, that's exactly why the split is very clear to me who we will see. The 3 that I learned about, and I know exactly why. The 2 that don't move into expanding consciousness, their brains are not able to fathom the secondary human consciousness maximum certainty. They need to have a why do I live? And the fact that you may take it completely away and give them nothing sends them into cognitive dissonance and or structural dissociation, and or basically the human being brain and their ego does not bear that unknown. And that's where you have mentally, emotionally, and physically immature, because the expert yogis don't have a problem with darkness. And that's exactly where, humanly speaking, what this means is that I can say, thank you, Sam Harris, any of my cherishable beliefs could be true, could be false. That's when a left brainer will say, then you're not a believer. And that's when an enlightened one will not say shit, because again, anytime somebody's wanting to tell somebody what to think or believe or to feel, it's well, I'm a differentiated self, and my 3-year-old told my mother, you can't spank me, and then corrected my biological father, and then I got disowned. So it's a very clear, humanly speaking, how I can tell you what a sense of self is, because it's this 3-year-old right here who also is very grounded in reality, because I love to learn things. The data replicates itself on a wheelhouse when I meet the adaptive child part people. Left mode, what was it, Dr. Daniel Siegel? It has to do what? Right or wrong. A plus B. They can't touch, otherwise I'll freak out inside and begin to get very uneasy, uncomfortable, unhappy. And where? In the gut. This is me adding to it. Because the minute that a person doesn't own their sense of self, and they have shit coming up, and they don't know how I ain't an authority figure, but yeah, Maria's different than you. What do you want? Yeah, Maria doesn't believe what you believe. What do you want? I don't feel the way you feel. I ain't doing anything the way you are. Nope, Maria's a differentiated self is what's her name. Use my name, thank you. I'm trying to give you, because this, we're going to bring it full circle in a minute. Does anybody know what people who feel afraid want when they get scared? They want pats on the back. They look outside themselves for safety. What am I? I'm a human. The minute that I'm the minute I'm unseeing you, I'm beginning to tell you I don't see the same thing. If you don't know how to differentiate, you're not going to like Maria differentiating herself. And then you're going to want to tell me, no, I'm right, you're wrong, Maria. Excuse me? I'm right, you're wrong. Okay, what's up? And that's the minute they won't like it. Because I'm not saying you're right and I'm wrong. I'm just saying, okay, let me hear your story. What's up, Cusco? What you got? And that's the minute of I learned how to handle that. Excuse me. Let me just share. We have different opinions. So the part about differentiation of self is that there's 3 different subcortical areas, as the lovely Dr. Daniel Siegel introduced me. So once you have your personality patterns, your attachment, and your temperament, and you get to be yourself like a grown-up, you're cool with anyone, whoever, whatever, it doesn't matter. When you are getting charged, if they present it to you, I've recently had a nice debate in family stuff, and I get to have my moments where I get charged up, and as they're presenting to me, what do you got? What trauma's going on? And I'm like, we'll talk about it maybe when I think about it. I haven't journaled yet, but I do know. I know exactly what it was. And so at the end of the day, when you are consistently looking outside yourself, you know what a grown-up is supposed to do. And so we forgive. I know I do. The grown-ups who are mediocre, ignorant, they believe in conspiracies, the pseudo-intellectuals, every single one who wants to keep talking about my brothers and sisters like pieces of shit, and anybody who basically, in my book, isn't standing as a person who knows how to use their body in connection with their integrated brain, which is why I'm still, thank you, Enneagram, the same perfectionist. I just know, flexibly speaking, that I'm imperfect and flawed, and that all bodies have a different journey, and that if they began with shame, I can't make them love themselves first. And that's why they won't love themselves first, nor will they love me. But I won't be mean to them, and I won't call them a name that they're not, because that's not nice. I will cry for them maybe. Or I might not, because that would be disrespectful, since they did consciously choose to stay within enough shame and actually throw shit in my face, quote unquote, without ever taking ownership of it. Do I have resentment? No, not really, because you can't have resentment for that which is a poor child who got treated like shit. And that's exactly why God taught me not to play know-it-all by the time I'm 20, because this is exactly how you will know when you know the truth. Is like, that's just sad. I can't even look at you, though, with this eye of I'm so sad for you, because otherwise I'm disrespecting God, because I know you're a piece of consciousness. You actually have full capacity. like the little choo-choo train did, to go and head on over to a therapist and get yourself out of hell, but you just continue with the stories, Cusco. My gosh, your stories are fucking amazing. No. So the part about mediocrity, ignorance, and that which is self-righteousness and contempt, I have consistently learned how to not really do anything since I was a teenager, because I didn't meet any monsters, just cowards. And that's why as a grown woman now I just know, okay, what I have, excuse me, you're confusing science, spirituality. No, I'm not. I had fun with that one. And someone said, how'd you have fun with someone interrupting you? Because don't you I interrupt people all the time. I do it. I really do. And so, I mean, I don't think, I'm trying to complement, meaning add to the story. But sometimes you'll get the ones who think you're interrupting them by being rude. Other times you get the ones who understand, no, I'm trying to chime in. And other times you do the wiggle room dance, and then you finally figure out how you speak, and that's really fun. So that's another aspect of good intentions are not enough. It takes the right action performed with the right consciousness to produce the necessary results. Thank you, Sadhguru. So when people are empowered, present, attuning, resonating, trusting, because they're connected, open, aware, and loving. Thank you, Dr. Daniel Siegel, with your acronyms. Because they're curious, open, accepting, also, and loving. Because they're flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, and stable, that's an integrated brain right here. So I don't take offense when I get charged. I get to work with sad, work with anger, work with fear, and get safe with fear. I don't correct people with the anger stuff, and sad, I don't always connect with everyone. It's not personal. So you know how to be a grown-up about rejection. Oh, and when people don't like that I don't agree with them, I just don't actually have anything to say except for, look, you and I have different opinions. Stupid, yes, I can be stupid, that's for sure, but I'm just saying, I think we looked at all of it, don't you? Don't you think we looked at every angle? Because really, I don't, so yeah, that's it. People who don't have any kind of insecurity are empowered feminines, because you could look away and I'll know that I need air, water, and food to live. And that's it. You haven't unseen Maria. You haven't made me feel ashamed of Maria. You haven't made me feel like I'm stupid. Does anybody know when we feel really stupid? So here's where our subcortical area is to this day. Mine is where I get frazzled with physical, like moving around, or if somebody pulls a rug under, yeah, so I can get a little bit overwhelmed, or when the panic attacks, sometimes they come about. So that's when I begin to get there. I feel like I'm stupid or something, like inside of me. But another person telling me I'm stupid, I mean, I can be stupid, yes. So and because you genuinely know that this is possible, that's what pisses the fuck off of the insecure person, because they can tell you're really saying it for real, and if they don't, are you being serious? Look, I'm not trying to get into a fight. I think I should go now. And no matter how you twist and turn it, this is where it's at. At the end of the day, though, 3D, 4D won't be hanging out with 5D too much, because our ventral energy is off-putting. So is the positive vibes that we're always in, and they actually think we're future humans, the bodies that are connected with love and fear, and able to consistently use mindfulness, because again, we're using the prefrontal cortex, and we have the sensations, perspectives, and agency, and we do know about our sensations being subjective, and our perspective therefore also being subjective and agency. Which is also why when people have accused me of being an evil bitch and an evil witch, I feel really sad. I said, no, I'm not meaning to be that, but I can understand that I and you don't match, and that you have doubts. So if someone has doubts of me, I'm not going to be like angry. Of course, we all can have doubts of each other. So it's the et tu brute, you know what I mean? Betrayal. Yeah, that's right. So betrayal, to me, that word, for example, doesn't mean much, because when I met the cowards that I met when I was a kid and then I grew up, I still meet them, and now I know what they are. They're facades and fake people who need a therapist, not me, because they're insecure, and their 0-8-year-old rules them. And so when I'm meeting their 0-8-year-old, I'm going to make friends with their child, because I don't want to be mean to a person who has the capacity. I'm not doing enough to be saluted, to be so upset that I didn't see them, but I won't pat them on the back. And this is the part of when I like to share thoughts, I'll share them firmly, then I will allow myself to remove myself from the situation, and that is where the individuals who are aware of that will have one of two ways that they interact. Great, we have a person who stands their ground and has their own subjective opinion, grounded in reality, or, bunch of name calling. So when people don't like each other, they name call. And do I name call? Well, I don't know if I name call, but I'm like, wow, emotionally immature people really could use Patrick Tan to get better in their embodied brain. But I guess, sometimes they're just going to have fun with the other Cuscos out there. So the immunity isn't enough to be saluted is probably hanging out with, who knows, instead of going to Terry Real or Patrick Tan and getting their selves better. And so we'll have some more lovely food for thought. The feminine element empowered is a body in connection. The masculine element empowered is the integrated brain. And so your default mode network, you're down regulating it. You're not scanning yourself and others. Your left mode, you own it. So you don't do I'm right, they're wrong. You do let me chit chat. And in the emotional plane, you accept that you have fear and sadness and anger and that it's a mastery. Doesn't mean it's like, yay, I get to master anxiety. Whoo-hoo. No. But that's where, as Nutshell Therapy Nutshell Lady shared Panic Attack, a bunch of videos. I got to see some human beings say, so are you saying we have to put up with it? No, that's not what she said. She's giving you things you can do. So it's still, uncomfortable. Like, fuck, yeah, of course it is. But it happens. I'm not going to be upset about it. Oh, also our energy body expands besides our emotional window of welcome. So the energy body, I got that from a course of mine, and that makes complete sense. I'm 4'9". She explained every body can only hold so much energy. So when there's a lot of energy as it's coming in, and sometimes we'll block it with our breath, and stuff like that. And sometimes I do forget to breathe. So at the end of the day, it is really fun to be a 5D mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group and a functional child adult. Welcome aboard to all of those who will come back again. It was a pleasure to share with you a little bit more on this split. So again, don't worry, our 3D, 4D brothers and sisters will be fine. They will be living a completely different experience than we will, but that's where they do have options. They can actually work with love and fear if they want, and together they do manifest amazing stuff. Love and fear when you're a grounded in reality person, again, and you make the best of every day. An empowered feminine and an empowered masculine will cherish the 24 hours they have. And then they will cherish all of the differences, which is why we don't actually need to correct. Again, we love to, for the ones of us who know of God, Akash Source, we have faith and we all know that we will do what we are all here to do to support ascension, expansion, and enlightenment. And humanity consistently evolves. That's why I bring human elements, sciences, spirituality, all that. We look at human evolution, consciousness, being yourself, and into the future we go. It will be very well. Wellness is in the forefront of all people who know about their body and their mind. And then for those who get lost in stories, again, we'll talk some more about it, but it's not for us to tell them what to do with their body. And if they have stories for themselves and those stories are truer than getting their health in the forefront, mental, emotion, physical, we're not going to make them believe in neuroception or believe in the good neurobiologists and neuroscientists. Because again, you don't make someone who's afraid to love themselves first. In fact, they will find many ways to tell you how to perform and that you're not meant to love yourself first. And how dare they be so self-centered? And then they, again, continue with that. So the people who don't understand that to rebuild having faith in people, they have to talk about it and how it got broken. Thank you, Patrick Tan. They also don't understand that you cannot raise your vibration, live in abundance, or manifest your way through childhood trauma. Thank you again, Patrick Tan. The way that you get out of a calculative mind, which is stress and struggle of the mind, and thanks, this is a paraphrasing of, as Sadhguru points out, that's what calculation, so getting out of the left means you get into the right, but that's where you get to own your solo self, your narrative, your relational, and your core self with a good therapist. You integrate and then you differentiate, and as you integrate and differentiate and you are becoming your inner adult and you have your past to the side and all that, that's where we're going to see a lot of people join us in our 5D collective of mystic, spiritual, mindful, living, loving people from all walks of life. Like the book The Ways to God, where it brought 9 different spiritual authors together. Here we have science, spiritual, mystics, all of us together with all the stories, having a good time and looking forward to having some fun. So again, subscribe, paid subscription-based model content. We have 5-minute, 15-minute. The 3-minute for now, I've been letting it roll out for free, but I might still add it for paid content. I'll let you know. It's down below the link if you're watching me on YouTube. If you're hearing me, it's on the main IHP podcast website, wherever you're tuning in from. And the paid subscriber area has more than just the 2 exercises that I talked to you about. We have spotlights and readings, and we're going to have some extended content, as I mentioned at the beginning. We will be having our membership for Patreon once that's set up, and I actually have something new that I'm going to look into creating. And then you can also follow TikTok. That way we get to our thousands. When that happens, we'll have some lives. I believe I need to figure out the subscription for TikTok, but it's ongoing. And in the meantime, free live YouTube. I love being here. It's really fun. I had some really great YouTube lives the other week, so we'll have some more. And I'm excited for our 5D collective. I'm sad for our 3D, 4D collective, but that's just because I know that they could be joining us, and that's where it's at. You feel sad not because you are taking it personally, but because you won't be connected. And so, yeah, humanly speaking, it makes me sad because I know that, as Peter Levine points out, it's a bird with a broken wing who heads on over to cave, and basically Diego's family from Ice Age. So unhealthy self-worth, unhealthy self-soothing, inner outer critic, basically treating each other like little pieces of shit, perpetuating trauma stuff, the self-righteousness and all of that other. So yeah, we can't demand that our partners help us emotionally regulate while projecting our childhood abusers onto them, stuff like that. And then people doing it with the Lucifer story and all those other stories. So it's sad to see that people will not heal, and they will go and project what human brokenness happened within their own embodied brain upon humanity, and not notice that they can actually join us, and we can all hug it out and be in our ventral energy. And that's where people say that I have utopia in my brain. I'm like, no, humans can do it. Maybe not all will want it, but we could do it. As Albert Einstein points out, you stay away from the negative people. They have a problem for every solution. So entrepreneurs, successful ones, come on over, because we get to enlighten, because we have no problems, we have creativity. And we look at negative and positive from neutrality, which is why we can expand infinity, double infinity and beyond. That's what love and fear do together as they expand. When you're expanding. So we'll be back with more. Again, have a good one.